Alright, so here we are, lesson 15, a synthesis representation of, I lost my page, equivalent ratio collections. Alright, let me skip back down here. Here we are. Alright, lesson 15, we are on page 18, alright, which is the last page, and well, not the last page, but the last lesson for this part of the unit. Right, and a synthesis just kind of means we're pulling it all together now, everything that we've been doing for this whole unit. So, the exploratory challenge says, at the end of this morning's news segment, the local television station highlighted area pets that needed to be adopted. The station posted a specific website on the screen for viewers to find more information on the pets shown in the adoption process. The station producer checked the website 2 hours after the end of the broadcast and saw that the website had 24 views. 1 hour after that, the website had 36 views. Okay, so the first thing we need to do before we start is we need to find the value of that initial ratio. So it said for 2 hours, it had 24 views. So if we find the value, we are writing it as a fraction. So we have 2 over 24, and then we need to simplify, and we can divide them both by 2. So the value ends up being 1 over 12. Alright, this is what we're going to use for the next few exercises. So, exercise 1 says to create a table to determine how many views the website probably had 1 hour after the end of the broadcast based on how many views it had 2 and 3 hours after the end of the broadcast. Using this relationship, predict how many views the website will have 4, 5, and 6 hours after the end of the broadcast. So we're making a table. So we will have hours, and then we will have views. And we know based off of that value that in 1 hour there were 12 views. So in 2 hours there would be 24 views. In 3 there would be 36. In 4 there would be 48. In 5 there would be 60. And then in 6 there would be 72. Alright, so if we're looking at these patterns, going down the side for hours, we are adding 1 every time. And for views, we are adding 12. Or if we're going across, we are multiplying by 12 every time. Alright, and that all came from our value. Alright, so that was exercise 1. Exercise 2, we are going to cross off this first part. Don't need it. Alright, and now it says, using an equation, represent the relationship between the number of views, V, and the number, and the website received, and the number of hours, H, after this morning's news broadcast. So, we're going to go back to our table here. We have hours, and we have views. Alright, and we're still going to start off with our 1 and 12. So, hours is H. So to go from hours to views, remember we said we'd be multiplying by 12. So that means here we would have 12H. And now if we went from views, V, and we're going backwards now to H, that means we would be dividing by 12 because we're going the other way. So that means here we would have V over 12. Okay, so that's all we have to do for that one, was just write the equation. Okay, we're going to go on to the next page now. Exercise 3 says, use the table created in exercise 1 to identify sets of ordered pairs that can be graphed. Alright, so I want you to pause this, go back and look back at your first page and copy down the ordered pairs, and then you can come back and check them in. Alright, so here we have all of our ordered pairs. We've got 112, 224, 336, 448, 560, and 672. Remember, you need those parentheses on the outside. Alright, now we're going to use these for exercise 4, which is to use them to depict the relationship between hours and number of views on the coordinate plane. Alright, remember to label the axes and create a title. So, title, we can put something like how many views a website has. I would always do the title first just so I don't forget. Alright, and then we're going to label this is our Y going up and down, and this is our X going side to side. Okay. And we know the X value was the hours according to our tables and our coordinate pairs. And then our Y axis is going to be number of views. So go ahead and label those. Alright, in hours we were just counting by 1, so I'm going to skip every other line. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to put one more for 7. Alright, and then views, I think counting by 10s would probably be a good idea, so again I'm going to skip every other line. So we'd have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and we'll do one more for 90. Okay, so now we need to plot our points. So first we have 1, 12, so we go over to 1, up to 12, which will be somewhere above 10. And then we have, I'm doing them in a different color actually. So we've got 1, 12, and then we've got 2, 24, so 2 and then up to 24. And then we have 3, 36. And then we have 4, 48, which is going to be right under the 50. And then we have 5, 60, so that'll be right on the line. And then we have 6, 72, so right above 70 there. And then remember, we need to connect them from 0. Try to make it as straight of a line as you can. And put an arrow on the end. Alright, because this could go on forever, right? That's the whole point of that. Alright, and that was all we had to do for the graph. So that looks pretty good. And then we're going to look at exercise 5. So exercise 5 says, predict how many views the website will have after 12 hours. Alright, we're going to cross off this next part by using 2 representations. Right here, I want to go back to the equivalent ratios. Alright, so I'm going to write that in. We're going to use equivalent ratios, which was also the algorithm. Alright, so on the side here, remember we are comparing hours to views, and we're going to draw in our blank proportion. So we know that in 1 hour there were 12 views. We want to know how many after 12 hours, so we'll put our question mark down here. And we know to get from 1 to 12, we multiplied by 12. So on the bottom, we're going to have to do the same thing. And we know that 12 times 12 is 144. So we can say that the website will have 144 views. Alright, we are going to skip the next page, page 20. We're going to go to the back here on the last page. And in the blank spot at the end, after exercise 7, I wrote in a few questions that relate back to what we've been talking about in that first example. So I want you to write these down, and then I want you to try them on your own. Alright, so try on your own. And I want you to use the algorithm. Okay, which is like what we just did. Alright, and then we will go over these in class. So try these on your own, and we will go over them in class.